It is Nicholas Gibbs. And Nicholas Gibbs, how are you doing anyway?
Better than I deserve. No, not doing great. Doing great, Randy. It's always good to be on here with you on a Tuesday.
There you go. Well, Cybertruck got the best safety rating of any pickup ever tested by NISTA, including the lowest overall probability of injury and the lowest chance of a rollover of any pickup truck ever in history. I know you're shocked. Come on, show me some shock here. But the stock didn't go up. How come the stock didn't go up? Because I mean that everybody's, that's like the last thing you needed to know about the truck, right? It's the only thing people had left to talk about.
Well, yeah, the stock market's a different animal.
Well, that concludes all of the news we have about Tesla today. But there is a piece of news that is tangential to Tesla, and I want to talk to you about that the most, and that is Grok 3. I am very impressed. I played around with it today. It is amazing, but I am not an expert. But I did try to look up things that I'm expert in so that I could see how expert it was, and it was mind-boggling. What about you, though? You are much more knowledgeable in this space than I am, like 100 times more knowledgeable. What have you been thinking about Grok over the last 12, almost 24 hours?
Yeah, it's it's interesting. I just got done with the spaces, Randy, with Omar and Randy or Randy, Omar and Herbert and
We
Xander
look
and
so much alike. That's why you confuse us.
yeah, and Simon was on there. I forget Simon's last name, uh, analyst or wealth manager. I don't know what all Simon does, but he brought up a very unique point that when I heard it, it just seemed so accurate that even when we were talking in the green room, it was still in the back of my mind that I can't stop thinking like, oh, this is totally why Elon launched Grok 3 yesterday.
Mm.
So you guys might be wondering, well, what did Simon say, Nick? Stop teasing us. Well, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for Andy. uh, so so Simon was talking about how this was one big chess move by Elon. And what he meant by that was that so Elon made the bid for OpenAI,
Right.
right? If you don't know about that, you can go look it up, what happened there. But long and the short, what he did was complicate things for Sam Altman, OpenAI, to move from nonprofit to a for profit company. And there's a lot of drama behind that. Again, I don't want to regurgitate all that. But so what Simon was hypothesizing, which again, I think once you hear it, it's like this is clearly part of Elon's game, was that what the reason Elon rushed this out, and when you think about did he rush it? Well, if you go back and you listen to the presentation, you will hear Elon repeatedly say it's going to get better every day for the rest of the week. The voice version isn't going to come out to the end of the month or to the end of the week, right? Like he's like just kind of like hedging his bets, saying like, "Hey, like it's going to get better. It's going to get better." But it's still really great. In fact, it's so great that they put it up on I forget what the new name is, but LSMSY, whatever it is. It's a chatbot arena essentially where it's a open source, funded by different companies website that will allow you to compare all these different LLMs, and you can choose them. There's a version called Chatbot Arena. You could just use different ones for direct messaging. Anyways, Tesla put Grok 3 in there, essentially incognito under a false name called Chocolate,
Uh-huh.
and it turns out that it beat everyone, and everybody was like, "What is this chocolate model?" Um, But so once they started seeing good results there, that was blowing everybody else out. They essentially rushed to do this demo. And again, Elon essentially mentioned that it's going to keep getting better, which insinuates it's getting rushed. So how does this help Elon, and what's the chess move? Well, in the presentation, Elon was essentially able to show how XAI, in such a short amount of time, has surpassed and leaped everybody. DeepSeek, OpenAI, 4.0, Claude, anything, essentially anything Anthropic's doing, everyone in such a short amount of time. That is so much better. And not only that, but they already have 200,000 GPUs or H100s running now, and they plan on increasing that, and they're not slowing down.
They
So
made it clear that the million was not just a hyperbole, that
yeah.
is actually their next step.
So what's the chess move here? Well, Elon made a bid for OpenAI's nonprofit side, so he complicated things there for Sam. But now Sam's going to want to raise more money. But here's the thing: when you see what XAI just put out there, and then XAI goes out for a round of money, XAI is going to suck up all the capital that's out there in the markets, further causing issues for Sam Altman and OpenAI. And so Simon was putting forth the thought that this was a chess move in the fact that he is monopolizing the capital markets so that Sam has no well to go and fish from.
I see.
And when I heard this, it was like, oh my goodness, this is clearly what Elon's doing. This is clearly why he got this out there before the finished product. It's 1 week.
Yeah.
He could have waited a week.
Yeah.
He didn't need to do it now. But clearly this was all intentional. And so, you asked me what my thoughts are. We can talk about it in a second here, but that's on top of my mind. Was this man is just playing, he's just playing on another level with all these people. And I wish I could just be a fly on the wall of Sam Altman and just hear what he's saying. But what are your thoughts on that theory?
Well, I think the theory makes sense. I think it totally makes sense. The other thing that I thought was important in what their setup yesterday that nobody's really talking about today is not just that he was able to put the first cluster up in 130 days or whatever it was, and then the second cluster up in
90.
Huh?
In 90.
90 days. It wasn't just that. The other piece that was woven into that story was, oh yeah, we also found a building. We built it out. We hooked up all the cables, but we also had to figure out the water. We had to figure out the electricity. We had to figure out all these things, and we found a way to get all of that done. That was on top of figuring out how to get them all to be on the same, I forget what you call that when they are all in the same cluster. So that's another kind of dagger in the heart of all the companies, not just Sam, but all the rest of them. Because what does that mean? Well, it means that this million cluster that he's going to build will probably be up before they can get to 200,000.
Well, and for Tesla investors, and again on that stream I was on, Omar pointed this out. If there's anything that should give you confidence in Tesla when it comes to FSD and Optimus, is that clearly XAI has shown us that OpenAI had a huge lead. And here comes XAI. And what's the big difference that comes all this is scale, ability to leverage real hardware to build, to essentially create a manufacturing space, like clearly the physical world and being able to move through it like a knife, which is what Tesla does, is the real part of this that goes back to what Elon always says, that long-term manufacturing, the factory will be the real product or the real differentiator. Because look, XA or OpenAI, Anthropic, all of them could do a lot of the similar things. They could have.
Right.
But in that amount of time, in such a short period. And remember, like these are the same people, like the guys at XAI, they clearly had help from Tesla, from SpaceX, from
Yes,
Neuro,
yes,
right? Like clearly,
yeah, yeah.
right? But so it's like you're just adding to this ecosystem of Musk enterprise that's just becoming. I don't know how you beat it. I mean, and again, once again, let me give credit. You know, Omar correctly said Elon's the godfather of AI. He
Yeah.
was the founder of OpenAI. Jensen's first GPU was delivered to OpenAI. Elon was there. Elon signed it, right? And here he is once again. Whether it's FSD, whether it's no one took humanoid serious until what Tesla started doing it. No one took FSD serious until Tesla started doing it, and all that is Elon. Like
Right.
it is. If you have any doubts, they should be gone.
So then, just to take another little part about infrastructure, just another element that's not being talked about that I can see anywhere on X. Microsoft, and I mean all of the other companies are scrambling for power. Oh, we'll make a deal with this guy for nukes. We'll restart 3 Mile Island. We'll do this. We'll do that.
Mhm.
We're going to find. So we got to find some way to get all this power. I'm just going to say it right now. Elon gets this million thing going with 1.25 uh, gigs of power he's going to need.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
It's one.
Like I told you earlier, I wasn't exactly in the
You were
clearest of state of mind.
okay, but anyway, it's a lot of power. He'll have the power ready to go because, well, first of all, he's in the business. Number two is that's how he works. He knows already where he's going to go to get that much power in Memphis, because apparently it's going to be in Memphis after all. The Chamber of Commerce announced that he's building this in Memphis. So
Hmm.
he's already figured out where the power is going to come from. And these other guys are going, well, we might have the power in 3 or 4 years when we can get the nuke up.
Yeah,
So it's just,
yeah. And using it. I haven't used it that much today because I was busy doing other stuff today. Um, but it seems first impressions are what I don't like about a lot of these LLMs is when they write back to you like hopefully it's going to get demonetized or anything, but like normally my prompt back to it is something like sound less douchey,
yeah,
sound less fake, sound less like a consultant. Like it's constantly like
right,
like nobody speaks this way. And with Grok 3, what I noticed is it was giving responses back that were very natural,
right.
almost the way that I would want it to. I mean, you used to always tweak things to make it your own, but
Mhm, mhm.
there's less tweaking I think that needs to be done. And that was like I know that sounds small and insignificant, but to me that's a huge thing because it's really understanding more of the EQ that comes to being a human
Right,
conversing.
right.
Like people don't start off sentences saying "dear sir," like or there's just certain words that you can just see like oh they use an LLM for that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
what are your impressions so far?
My impression. So obviously I don't have any history, any significant history in the world of computer science or physics or mathematics. So it's hard for me to test it in its in all its glory. I can't, and I don't, I wouldn't know how to go in and even have it program a game for me. I wouldn't know how to prompt it. But I have my own specializations, right? I have specializations, but one of them I decided because somebody sent me something. I decided to test it in theology
Mm,
because I've read the Bible 8 times. I've read so many. I've listened anyway. Just say, without having a degree in it, I could probably pass the test. So I went really deep. This guy had done a test, a theological test, and he sent it to me. And when I read it, I was literally dumbfounded. I mean, I was literally sitting there going, the depth of understanding, analysis, clear thinking away the way that he approached it. It was just absolutely breathtaking. So then I took what had been done, plopped it back in, and I said, okay, what about this? What about this? What about this? And I was just, it was absolutely amazing. I was just shocked. So that would be
It
my analysis.
it reinforced your faith. Would that be fair to say?
It reinforced it didn't, in a way, but okay, so you can approach faith from two different directions, right? You can approach it from the direction of you have the experience first, okay, and you say, "Oh, I get God," or "God, I feel you, God, therefore I believe, therefore." Or you can approach it like I did in my life, because of course that's how I think, extremely logically. Okay, prove it to me. Oh, now I believe because you've shown me all the evidence, you've shown me all the proof, you've made me think, oh, it's at least 98%, oh, now 99, whatever. But that's how I came to get back into the faith in my mid 30s. Well, this one is like that. And its first conclusion was that Jesus is God. So it literally says this. Grok goes, no, pretty clear. So, and that's pretty shocking coming
Hmm.
from a machine that is researching the world's information, and then it comes to that conclusion. Now, this fellow that did this, he put it back in to another Grok, and the second Grok was a little less certain of himself. So that was interesting.
Yeah, well, I would just like tweak what you just said there. It's not researching what,
That's well,
right? It is literally reasoning for itself.
yeah, yeah,
It's no different than if I teach you how to do something and then you reason for yourself based on what you've learned,
right,
right? So it's reasoning on its own based on all that it's been taught and it's
right,
learned.
right,
So there's no research happening. It's you're asking a question, it's telling you what it thinks.
right. Yes,
You know, it's
that's
like FSD. FSD is not researching for what happens next at this light. It's saying, I think
you go here.
probabilistically, this is what I should do based on everything I know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So anyway, that was my. So I'm wondering again with the limited amount that you've looked at, but given your background, and we've talked about this a little before, what implications do you see for this bigger step? What's besides the implications for just being ahead in the game and the game among the four or five competitors? What about the implications for society, for the world, for business, et cetera?
Um, all right, so this is where I'm gonna sound like Debbie Downer. I don't think there's any implications anytime soon. Um, I think we have a better thing than what we had before.
Okay.
Um, I think essentially it's like we went from version 11 FSD to version 12. I
Mhm,
think it's something like that.
mhm, mhm.
I don't think it's profound in any sense. I don't think it's, I think, I mean, we'll see. We have to wait till they open up the APIs to see what everyone's actual benchmark testing looks like
Right.
versus, which is what we hear from XAI. But I don't know if there's anything really profound in the sense of how this is going to change things. I think in a week from now, no one's going to say anything about this.
Mhm.
Um, now, there are lessons to be learned, such as clearly we haven't hit the limits when it comes to the benefits of scaling compute
Mhm.
to train on. So that's very interesting. Um, I think it's profound that it's Musk who's at the forefront of this. But I don't think this means a lot for Tesla.
Mhm.
Um, I think we'll probably eventually get a Grok version. Um, but it's gonna, in my opinion, be crappy because it's gonna be very latent because it will have to be hosted. Um, so it's not gonna be on your car. Your car will be calling out to the model, which will make it latent. I mean, just think about, you ever put in a address or like an FSD address in your car and you're waiting, you're like, it's searching and you're waiting. I think responses will be kind of like that.
Mhm.
Um, so I think there's a lot there. I think hardware 5 vehicles will probably have the correct amount of compute so that you could have a mini version in the vehicle. You don't have those latency issues. Like the robo taxis, I bet you won't have. They will not be calling the cloud. I almost
Got it.
guarantee it.
I got it. I got it.
Um, but I don't think there's anything too profound other than we've seen a power shakeup.
Okay.
And but at the same time, much like everything else that Tesla does or Elon does, while we all know it, it seems like nobody knows it. Nobody is talking about it today. It was briefly mentioned on CNBC
Yeah.
today.
Right.
Like
Right.
there's not much talk about today. You know, in our circles there is,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but there was not much talk about it. There's not a lot of fanfare for it. There's not a lot of anything. So, you know, it'll be interesting. It'll be
You
interesting to see
know,
what happens.
I think there's another aspect to that too. That did you and I talk about? So I think somebody and I we had a conversation about this last week. Is that Elon, as always, is approaching it from the technical side, which is not what the street wants to hear. They want the sexy side. They want the car. They don't want to know how the battery works. They want to know how the car looks. And so what we got yesterday was how the system, how it works and why it's fast and why it's great for engineers and for technicians. What we didn't get was, oh, but it'll make this movie, that looks better than any movie that's ever been done. We didn't get the practical, sexy side, something that they could put on the news that people could look at and go, oh, look at that.
Yeah. I think things will it'll be interesting to see what happens. Like right now, like Azure and AWS, for example, they don't offer Grok in any form right now. At least to the best of my knowledge, I could be wrong, but they don't offer Grok as a LLM
I see.
API
Offer.
call that's callable. Um, so it'll be interesting to see if Grok 3 changes that. Um, because I think that'll be a big step. But yeah, I don't know. To answer your question, I don't think there's gonna be anything profound from this.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I
All right.
think the most profound thing for a test investor is knowing that, yep, we're still betting on the right horse. He's still as relevant as ever. He hasn't missed a step yet again. He's doing things that he's always done, surpassing the people who thought they were the leaders. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a dumb question, and maybe this will, but
hey,
a lot of
takes a
people.
dumb guy to answer a dumb question.
All right, so they seem to make a point about the fact that it was going to be improving every day. I don't spend enough time on the other large language models, and/or have I ever paid any attention? Do all of them improve every day, or is this something new?
I think it's more of like kind of polishing. I think that they're still working through maybe some glitches, some hallucinations, some inaccuracies, some polishing that has to get done. It's kind of like FSD when they release an update when
Mhm.
they give out a couple point releases and you're
Yeah.
like, what changed? And you're like, I don't know. There's nothing. Like it seems as normal to me. Maybe it's normal to you, but someone driving in Utah, it's like, oh, finally they
Fine.
fixed that. You know what I mean? It's like it can be so small. It's like if you were to ask the right question or you were to try to do the right thing, then you would notice. But if you don't, you don't notice. So I think it's probably just a lot of that, a lot of polishing
Okay.
that they probably should have taken another week to do.
Do.
But Elon,
Yeah.
needed to put his rook out to A4 to sacrifice it so that the queen could take it. So then he could take the queen with his knight. So I think it's
All
kind of
right.
something like that.
So, so you mentioned FSD. 13.2.8 came out yesterday. Cook and others did some rides today. A couple of people mentioned that there was a couple of steps back on point 0.8, a couple of bugs. When we get to Robotaxi or unsupervised in our own cars and we get updates, Can we afford any bugs? What do we do?
Yeah.
Can you? You can still have bugs. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like,
I
what
saw
are
a
the
car,
bugs
I
that they
saw
were
a car
experiencing?
driving down the wrong way on a two-way road today on a 12 on a point 0.8. It might have been a point 0.7. I can't remember.
Who was that?
It was somebody, I don't know who it was, but it was literally driving on the wrong side of the road like it was in England for like, I mean, not for a minute, for like 15, for like 20, 30, 40 seconds. Just
Mm.
driving down the wrong side of the road.
Yeah, you don't want that.
No,
That's
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 kind
pretty.
of rough bug.
Yeah. But you're gonna have things like that happen. I mean, the I don't think you'll have things like that happen with this the June unveil. I
Okay.
think that's going to be kind of a build on its own. Um, I think they look. They're going to have that one so much more polished. They're gonna make sure that they have such good map data. Like they're not going to risk anything with
Got it.
this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but they're doing Robotaxi rides now internally with employees in San Fran and I imagine Austin, and they're at a point where they need to take it up another notch, right? So it's like FSD. FSD first gets released to internal employees,
Mhm.
and then they're like, all right, we need more data, so let's give it out to Omar and Chalk and maybe maybe a little extra of a tranche of people. You know, sometimes I'm one of those, sometimes I'm not. But so just let's get a little more data. And I think that's what the Austin release is. And then once you get that, you know, it takes a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, and then next thing you know, it starts to get wider and wider. So I think that's kind of the approach. So look, you're gonna have bugs no matter what. It's gonna happen. Um, but I would imagine, even if it was driving on the wrong side of the road, I'm not saying that that's right or good. It's
Right,
not.
right, right.
But if a car started coming towards it, I bet you it would have moved out of the way and not crashed.
That would be
I
good.
bet you it would have been a non-issue.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's wrong, sure. But have you ever gone down a one-way road and all of a sudden you're like, oh crap?
Oh, heck yeah.
Everyone's done that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's done that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, it it happens.
Yeah.
Like humans do that. Like it's gonna happen. Like it's and it won't always happen, but you know, when you're on the first waves of this, it's probably gonna happen. And
In Ireland, I did get on the what to me was the right side of the road, but I got on the wrong side of the road and I drove about 2 miles before another car came. And I'm like, what the heck I doing in my lane?
yeah, I mean, but even cities that have roads that just go one way,
Right, right.
like if you're new to a city, like you don't even real, you're like, oh, I'm just trying to get down over here, and you're just busy. You're looking at your map, and you're like, oh, and next thing you know, you're like, oh, whoops. You know, like these things
Let's
happen.
now we can make another a little shift into the general economy, but still talking about the AI thing and productivity. I'm going to do a little bit of a longer setup for this question. So we
Oh,
have a government right now that is being downsized. We have we have 200,000 employees that have been let go because they had only been there less than 2 years. 70,000 who took the payout. More and more others, 10,000 here, 5,000 there, 2,000 there, being let go in various departments. Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich reduced the government by 375,000 employees, but it was over a longer period of time, over 2 or 3 years. So this is going to happen pretty fast, apparently, this downsize. We might even be looking at military downsizing. We'll find out in a week or so, but Trump has talked about cutting the military in half if he can get China and Russia to go along with him. Then you have a downstream from that. You've got all the people that won't have a job in the regular economy because they are supplying things to those people that work there. Pencils, erasers. No, they don't use erasers. Anyway, but you've got all the equipment, supplies, and even contractors and such that are downstream. So you got a bunch of people that are going to lose their jobs in that regard. So you got a pretty significant downsizing of the workforce and of the economy in general happening fairly fast. Right? You have the two other sides of that. The other sides of that would be productivity gains because of AI, and the other thing would be productivity gains because the interest rates come down. Businesses can take advantage of the interest rates being down. They can take advantage of some of these employees coming out that probably have some skills. Anyway, you could see an increase in GDP because of the downsizing of government, but you've got a potential, but you have a definite downsizing of GDP because of all the losses. Okay, so
This is a setup.
well, notice the question is only, do we end up having, Elon said we could have some pain. Do we end up having a recession sometime this year because of the downsizing? Or a couple of your buddies, my other co-hosts, believe, no, we will outrun it. The good news will come first, and that'll take care of the bad news.
So that wasn't Jeff that would say that.
I think
I don't think Larry would say that. Who else do you have on?
I think Larry might have. I think Brian Wong thinks that.
That I could see.
Okay.
Okay, because Jeff would not make an absolute like that, and Larry is too wise to make any straight up opinion about something like that. That boxes him in. So that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So okay. So interesting questions you asked there. State your question again, so I make sure I answer the right question, not the question I want to answer.
Okay. Well, the question I'm asking is, do we have to go through some pain this year? Probably. I would say second, third quarter, maybe fourth quarter, sometime between now and the end of the year. Do we go through some pain because of the downsizing, or does the economy get boosted quickly enough to offset that pain, and maybe we have a flat month or two, or maybe we don't ever have a flat month even?
Okay. So, all right, here's my take. My take is, I have two takes. Sorry. Oh, okay. So here, look, you guys are going to think I'm copping out. I'm going to speak out of both sides of my mouth, but this is, you're going to think I'm speaking on both sides of my mouth, but this is the constant tension in my own head.
There you
all
go.
right.
Okay.
So here's my concern. First of all, with all the government layoffs and the ripple effects, or the pencils, erasers, etc., the downstream effects, I'm going to sound like the biggest bad word out there. But to be honest, you just can't care. Like, you care, but you can't care. Because empathy, you can be empathetic and you can care about people, but at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. And you have to sometimes sacrifice the few for the many.
For a time.
Exactly. And it's unfortunate, but it's the way it is. And the truth is, we have bloat and it needs to be taken care of. And the best thing to do is not to slowly rip the Band-Aid off. The best thing to do is just to rip that Band-Aid off so we can move on with our lives.
Okay.
So that's the first thing. And it just has to happen. So, and I hear all the time people talking about like, oh, these people are going to lose their jobs, or this person this and this, that. And it's like, yeah, I get it. It sucks. No one's denying that it sucks. No one's denying that it's hard. But guess what? You got to do the hard things. Someone has to be the one that does the firing. Someone has to be the one that gets the fire. Someone's got to get laid off. Like, look, it sucks. This is life. We got to do hard things. We got to do things that suck that we don't want to do. But that doesn't make it any less of the right answer. No matter how it doesn't make it any less right.
Right. Yes.
Like the right answer is still the right answer, no matter how much it sucks. Yeah. You know, it's like when you're trying to get healthy, and you know, you need to eat less than you've been, or you have to go work out, and the next day, guess what? You're sore, and guess it sucks, and that's less because at least you're doing it to yourself. But this is someone else doing it to you, and you get your families and all that. I get it. Like I have so much empathy, sympathy, all the things out there that you want to apply to it. But at the end of the day, this is where we're at, and we got to do it. And you know what? They're giving everyone 8 months severance. Like nobody in the last 3 years who have been in the tech industry, which I've been in, who have gotten laid off, done huge amount of rifts. None of them got 8 months severance.
Right.
Even people who are at a company for 5 years didn't get 8 months severance.
Right.
The way it worked is everyone got 2 months severance, and then for every year you work there, you got an extra 2 weeks. That's how pretty much it worked unanimously across every company. All right, so 8 months, stop it. That's a huge vacation. That's enough time to find another job and then take another vacation before you start your job. Like it's enough. They're doing right by people. Okay, so putting that to the side, and I know I was long-winded on that, but like I get it. It's hard. But what I'm concerned about, Randy, is not that. What I'm concerned about more so is this. We live in the asset economy. I literally went on a whole diatribe, maybe that's the right word. I a long rant on X the other day. You guys can go look it up. It's like 6 long threads, tweets, posts, whatever you want to call it. But we live in an asset economy. And where we are right now, and it's funny, this ties back to what we were talking about before in the green room. You either have assets and you're doing okay, or you don't have assets and you're drowning. And to me, I can't stress enough to people that I don't care if you're drowning. You find a way to invest. You figure it out. Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to be there when you're older, when you're ready to leave, when like you're not going to get out of your situation through your job. Odds are you're not. So the only way to do that is to invest your way out of it. And what I'm concerned about, Randy, is that there's a lot of people that have all of their assets tied into real estate. And I think real estate is frothy, peaked on its way down. I'm not saying we're going to have a crash. That's not what I'm saying. But I could see a 5-10 year just flat real estate market. Maybe things go down. Maybe they only go up 1% a year. Maybe rents come down. There's an imbalance there. And the imbalance isn't just home prices. It's the aggregate of home prices, insurance costs going up, taxes going up, rates are obviously up. So it's the totality of that. In my lifetime, for sure, you haven't seen the totality of those go up. So that's a problem. And then the ripple effects of that. What brokers lose their jobs? What realtors lose their jobs, right? There's a whole ecosystem in that. And that's what I'm more so concerned about is the ripple effects of that. And then the people who don't own assets, which creates this bigger juxtaposition between the haves and the have-nots. And then you're not having a middle class. And even if you were to have a middle class or people who want to invest, who are saying like, Nick, you don't get it. Eggs cost this much. I can't buy toilet paper. My kids need to get tissues for school. The teachers don't have any money to do anything. The teachers are out buying their own stuff. Like, I get it. Like, this is life. All this stuff compounds. And it compounds even more so when everything goes up. So we're just in this weird place that I feel like there's a big air pocket that might get popped. So I'm not worried about what Doge is doing, what the government's doing. I'm more worried about the actual structural situation of what's going to happen for the everyday person. Now, that's my kind of pessimistic side. And like I told you, I have this tension in my brain. So let me talk to you about the optimistic side. I'll keep this more brief. I think that we, starting on November 5th, yes, 100%, when Trump got elected, I think we have started officially the Roaring 20s. I believe that we are going to see peace in the world for the next 4 years, probably more, probably 8, because I do think we'll probably see JD Vance as number 48. I think you're going to see him maintain the Trump, as people call him Trump 2.0, but the more statesman, the peace, the technology forward, that don't abuse us, but we don't want to be in every little thing. Like, I think you're going to see more of that. And I think we are in a Roaring's 20 coupled with just the beginning of AI actually coming to fruition. And we're just in a very interesting place. And I think that will probably supersede any of the other things that could happen. But I think it's like this. And it could easily go the other way. And so as long as Doge does what they're doing, as long as Trump can keep getting wins under his belt, as long as we can keep GDP going up in the United States, lower our debts, get our deficits in order, and stimulate growth in the country, I genuinely think that it will fix everything. Because if we can get our debts under control, our deficits under control, that will organically lower rates. That will allow a lot more supply to come in the market, which can stabilize things, and the people can afford things. That will probably mean that in general, not that things come down in cost like eggs and all that, maybe they do a little bit, but that they don't continue to rise as quickly. And it allows everyone to kind of catch up. Because a normal cycle, sorry, I know I'm being long-winded here, but normal cycle is that they raise rates, well, they create inflation, believe it or not, intentionally. Why? So that it makes the debt cheaper to repay.
It's a tax.
Exactly. So it takes a long time, but the final part of the whole cycle is that we see incomes go up. That's the final phase of the cycle.
Right.
And that puts everything back into kind of an equilibrium. We haven't hit that yet, but I imagine we will hit that at some point where you start to see some wage adjustments. So net of everything, I think we're going to be in a good place. And if there's anything that really puts me over the top on the positive side, is that there's so many people that think that we're in trouble, that intuitively makes me want to take the other side.
I see. Gotcha. Yeah.
So I hope that somehow answered. Like, I was trying to be like, I'm speaking to you like off the cuff, stream of consciousness. This is what's on my mind.
You definitely gave me the long term. I'm not sure that we figured out what's going to happen this year. So,
we will end the year higher than we are today.
Okay. All right. Well, we happen to agree 100% on that one.
That's
okay.
easy.
Yeah. All right. All right. We've got Tesla, which was down $1.73 today, is up 30 cents in the after hours. So actually, I didn't go all the way on that one. I could have gone over here because it's now after 5 o'clock. We could look and we could find out that Robinhood says, you've probably got it faster than me. My app is okay. Never mind. I'm not going to tell you because here we go. It's still up 32 cents in the after hours. So that was a lot of looking around to get not very much information. So let's go ahead and look at the bonds, which is always the number one thing on my mind based on that long conversation we just had at the end. What we want is those bonds to come down. They are not coming down. Nicholas, I don't know what to tell you, man. The 10-year is now up another 0.6. So we're up at 4.55 again. We were under 4.5. We need to go the other way. There's another 0.3 that just, no, wait, I'm sorry. It just lost a little. Anyway, I've been saying that it's going to take the Republican Congress to start backfilling some of the things that Doge has done, that's going to be critical, and that the judges would have to start agreeing with Doge, which they have done. So that has not got the bonds down yet. So apparently they're waiting for the Congress to come in and backfill.
Well, I also think I also think that you have to understand that we're in this shock and awe period still. when it comes to the tariffs and Trump.
Right.
Um, here's a hot take. I actually think Trump has to implement harsh tariffs on someone soon, really soon. I think he has to, and he has to enforce them, and he has to keep them on, because if not, it looks like every time Trump threatens tariffs, it's just a threat, and then they go away. And I think the only way that what he's doing persists is if he makes someone as an example. And believe it or not, I think if he does that, that will settle down the bond market.
So yeah, so there's enough uncertainty left that's what they're waiting for, some certainty.
Well, here's the real uncertainty. So the uncertainty was, what will Trump do?
Yeah.
Then it became, when the bonds started to chill out, it became, oh, well, he's not actually going to do anything.
Yeah.
Now I think the uncertainty has become, oh, everybody's going to realize he's all talk. He's just doing threats. He's not going to do it. Here's the uncertainty again.
Right.
But I think if he makes an example out of someone,
then you have certainty.
You have certainty, because then you're like, oh, these aren't just empty threats.
Right.
F around and find out,
right.
is essentially what he's saying.
Okay. We have oil, for all intents and purposes, unchanged, but staying way too high, in my opinion, at almost $72. We're still waiting for oil to go down. Maybe we need more certainty in the Ukraine, would maybe help the oil market to finally come down. Natural gas down 75.75%, at under $4, under $4. So that is new. Gold absolutely unchanged. How about that? But at 2009.49.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, just went up 10 cents.
Gold's not struggling, my friend.
Not struggling. And Larry and I are both betting it goes over 3,000.
Whoa, wait, what? Over 3,000?
Oh, yeah, it's at 29.49 right now.
Yeah, I thought you said 4,000 for a second. I was like, what?
Silver's at 33.40. So I've been planning that to go over 34 for a very long time, but it seems to be always bouncing up against that $34. Dollar flat. Bitcoin 95. It has really been flat. Not a lot of action in Bitcoin right now.
It has been flat. Not only has it been flat, coin has been flat. Strategy has been flat.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, they changed their name.
Yeah, from MicroStrategy to Strategy. That was pretty interesting. Okay, and on the equities, we have got them all up a bit. Dow is up 40 or 0.09, S&P up 7.50 or 0.12%, and the NASDAQ up 46 or 0.21%. So not a huge amount. There's not a lot of reporting out this week. We do have the Fed minutes tomorrow. There's a couple of S&P, like services and manufacturing numbers coming out the rest of the week, but really not a lot of big reports this week.
I agree.
Okay. All right. So we'll see what happens with Tesla. I'm thinking Tesla stays in the range for quite a bit longer until we get significant news. That's what I feel like. It's going to take some news to bust it out of the range.
I've been saying that for a while, haven't I?
Okay. All right. So we're in agreement on that one. All right. Nick, as always, we've taken it right to the edge of an hour. Who knows whether we went over or under, but maybe people stayed with us all this time. We hope. It's been great. As always, I always love mixing it up with you, and hopefully you guys have all been entertained as well. It's been great talking to you.
Cheers.